Good afternoon. Welcome back to Oneida Live on the Oneida Reservation here in Wisconsin. I'm Bobby Webster. I'm the PR director for the Oneida Nation, and today is Thursday, July 10th. And today we're going to do something a little different. I have a co host. My co host today has been an intern in our communications department this summer, and she's been very busy helping us get through the transition of losing one of our former employers in our area, Nate Wisniewski, who went to the Oneida Health Center as their PR person. So her name is Riley Aguirre, and she's been picking up the load and helping us out. And I'm going to ask Riley to please give us a little update what she's doing, and she's going to introduce our guest for today as well. Riley.
Good afternoon. Year of college at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I'll be a sophomore this fall. My job has been managing the nation's social media accounts and to see what we can do to improve our engagement and activity. I've been recently working on and getting our posts ready for the Oneida Ni'i History Summit, which will take place July 25th and 26th at the Oneida Hotel. This will be a great learning opportunity, so if you haven't already, make sure to register for that by scanning the QR code or visiting our website and clicking on the I Am Oneida project link at the top. Another project I've been working on is taking stock photos, so I've been going around the reservation to different locations and capturing the beauty of it. Some places I have visited are the Apple Orchard, Buffalo Farm, and Oneida Lake, and more. I also created the Oneida Powwow video with the Oneida royalty, where I found old Gullah Sox newspapers and painted on them for the announcement, which was a fun little project that allowed me to showcase my creative side of things. I've been working here for about a month now. I've been learning how the organization works, who does what, and getting familiarized with everything. I've been able to learn how the communications department functions and works with the other departments. I am able to get experience in the field of my intended career, and I'll be here till the end of August. Today our guest is Councilman Jameson Wilson, who will give us a legislative update.
Thank you, Riley, and glad to be here with you all. Sugolik swagwek wakatane hela adu gaiga wanisla de jitni watnisli kale wagatsanuni jit wagadadiate. Hello, everyone. I'm thankful for this day. It's a good day. Glad to be here. And glad to be here to provide an update. It has been a little while since I've been able to participate in an Oneida Nation Live. Last time we were doing these Facebook Live updates on Facebook, and now we made the transition to YouTube. And so that's part of the reason why when this transition was going on, I was supposed to come on, and so we had to push my date back. So glad to be here with you all. Glad to see Riley up here as an intern and filling in for, well, not necessarily filling in for Bobby, but getting some experience sitting in this host spot. So the internship program for the nation is very critical and integral in getting our young people that are in college and getting them that experience that they may need wherever they're going to move forward with in their careers, or if they're going to move forward with their career at the nation. It's valuable experience that they're going to gain going through this program, as I was a participant in the internship program in 2018. And so glad to have Riley here as the host, and glad to be with Bobby once again. And so to start my update, I wanted to talk a little bit about was it last night already? I think on Tuesday, July 8th, the nation held the special General Tribal Council meeting to talk about the Oneida Ni'i project plan. This meeting was a General Tribal Council directive dating back to July 2023, and I'm glad we were able to finally be able to put that through. And so we had a great conversation about our current enrollment criteria, and there were so many encouraging and uplifting thoughts that were shared that night. And so just wanted to talk a little bit about, I guess, the logistics about the meeting and how different it was compared to our usual General Tribal Council meetings that we have. So the layout for the GTC meeting was a little bit different than we're accustomed to, as there were different seating arrangements. The seating arrangements reflected how the seating layout is at the Oneida Longhouse. For those who may not be familiar with our longhouse, it is our place of gathering where we carry out our original instructions and responsibilities via our traditional hungwe ceremonies, and we also have social dances, birthdays, and various other community events there. And the seating layout at the Oneida Longhouse is arranged so that everyone is facing each other, and for the most part, everyone can see one another. And the typical seating arrangement at a GTC or General Tribal Council meeting has everyone facing one direction, which is toward the elevated stage where the Oneida Business Committee is seated. The microphones were placed at the center of the room in the Oneida Longhouse themed seating layout rather than being placed right up front facing the Business Committee in the usual seating layout at General Tribal Council meetings. The reasoning behind the decision was to create a more welcoming environment and to instill confidence in General Tribal Council attendees, hoping they would feel comfortable going to the mic to share their thoughts and feelings about the questions that were posed during the meeting on Tuesday. And so there was a focused discussion or a focused conversation that occurred during the meeting. So how that happened was that GTC supported a recommended motion from the Business Committee to suspend Robert's Rules of Order, which paved the way to have a facilitated conversation. The purpose for utilizing the focused conversation approach is because it allows a streamlined dialogue to occur around any topic, any given topic, and is often used to facilitate conversations within a group by using specific questions to draw input from the participants. This approach can help a group move forward to a shared understanding of the topic, which promotes cohesive decision-making. And the focused conversation was facilitated by Government Administration Office Project Manager Nick Reynolds, who has been the facilitator for the 14 previous community input sessions that have been held from March 2025 through May 2025. The focused conversation and agenda at the Special General Tribal Council meeting were the same as the facilitated dialogue that occurred at the 14 community input sessions. The focused conversation started with an explanation of some of the verbiage and terminology related to the discussion, as well as some housekeeping rules. Thereafter, the facilitator shifted the audience's attention to a 9-minute video recording of a presentation by Keith Dockstader, who is the former Chief Financial Officer and former Trust Enrollment Director of the Oneida Nation. In the video, Mr. Dockstader explains the past, present, and future of Oneida's enrollment levels. The first question was an objective question and was used to debrief the video and start the conversation. The last 3 questions were reflective questions. So just to share what those questions were, and you can also find these questions and the related video that was played and shared at the General Tribal Council meeting on the Oneida Nation's website on the I Am Oneida project, running at the banner toward the top of the nation's homepage. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what the Oneida project plan is all about, you can go there for more information. But those questions that were posed on Tuesday night were, what did you see and hear in the video that describes the future of Oneida Nation's enrollment levels? What gives you concern about the Oneida Nation enrollment levels and where they're headed? What gives you hope about the Oneida Nation enrollment levels? Oh, I said that twice, or I copied and pasted it twice. What are your thoughts about the Oneida Nation's current enrollment criteria? And so after about 3 hours of robust conversation amongst GTC members during the facilitated conversation, the chairman entertained a motion to reestablish Robert's Rules of Order. After Robert's Rules of Order were reestablished, the chairman shared the Business Committee's recommendation for General Tribal Council to support a motion for another General Tribal Council meeting within the next year pertaining to this topic, which is about the enrollment criteria and the project plan, and for additional collection of information and updates, and that the next meeting is also a non-stipended meeting. So this meeting did not provide a stipend, and that was set forth via GTC directive at a semi-annual meeting in July 2023, which also spurred the creation of the Oneida Standing Committee, which is the group that is managing the project plan. And also there's within that, it was one big motion with about 3 or 4 different directives. And then so a part of that is to provide updates at the annual and semi-annual General Tribal Council meetings. So That motion was supported unanimously during the meeting, and so we will be having another General Tribal Council meeting to talk about the Oneida project plan. I'm presuming that the next meeting will be focused on solutions, as this will actually lead into my next talking point, is that the next round of community input sessions will kick off tentatively late August 2025, and those sessions will be focused on proposals for solutions to the nation's current enrollment criteria. So that will lead up. I don't think we have a specific date set for when that special General Tribal Council meeting will occur, but we anticipate that those community input sessions will run from tentatively August 2025 to probably around February. So a good half a year, we're going to have multiple facilitated conversations about how to gather feedback, data, and input from our community about solutions to address our current enrollment criteria dilemma. Also, please join us for the 2025 Oneida History Summit regarding the nation's enrollment criteria on July 2025 through July 2025, which will be held at the Oneida Hotel. As mentioned, Riley's working on some of the social media content and flyer information on just sharing that information about the History Summit. It is a 2-day gathering which will explore the deep roots of Oneida identity and belonging. This is an opportunity to engage with community leaders, historians, cultural knowledge keepers, and policy experts as we reflect on our shared history and envision the path forward for Oneida Nation. A few more details about the History Summit. Registration for the Oneida History Summit is now open, and registration is required by July 18th. I believe we already have quite a few registrants at this point, so if you're interested in this event, please register as soon as you can. The History Summit is open to Oneida Nation tribal members only, and lunch and dinner will be provided on Friday, July 25th, with lunch provided Saturday, July 26th. So that wraps up that portion of my update regarding the General Tribal Council Oneida project plan, or the GTC meeting to discuss the project plan. Again, a really great conversation amongst Oneida Nation citizens about how to address this enrollment criteria dilemma that we're dealing with right now. And the good thing about it is that it's our decision to make. It's not the federal government's decision. We made a decision to actually remove the federal government from having oversight over our decision making regarding any constitutional change when we removed the Secretary of Interior from the decision making process. However, this enrollment criteria change, or addressing our enrollment, how we enroll, how we decide our citizenship, might not require a constitutional change. It could be a legislative fix, or it could be an administrative change. So I just want to make everybody aware of that as well. And so the people, Oneida Nation citizens, will make that decision, and that's the best thing about it. We don't have to worry about the federal government encroaching on our decision making. We'll be the ones deciding that. We have the autonomy to make those decisions. So that wraps up that. And again, if you have any other questions about the project plan, feel free to reach out to me. I also serve as a standing committee member for the Oneida project plan, as well as Secretary Liggins, who's also serving on that committee and also obviously serves on the business committee. We also have 13 other standing committee members on there. And I'll leave my information at the end of this segment, but we do have the I Am Oneida Project website, or the page within the nation's website, so please visit that for more information. So also wanted to provide an update regarding the Legislative Operating Committee. The LOC is comprised of myself, serving as the Legislative Operating Committee Chairman, Councilman Kirby Metoxen, who serves as the Vice Chair, Councilman Jonas Hill, Councilman Marlon Scanador, and Councilwoman Jennifer Webster round out the Legislative Operating Committee. And the LOC is supported by the Legislative Reference Office, which is made up of 3 knowledgeable senior staff attorneys who draft the laws, 1 senior staff attorney, 2 staff attorneys who draft the laws and guide the legislative process for the nation. I wanted to share some data regarding the work that the Legislative Operating Committee and Legislative Reference Office has completed so far this term. We're already 2 years in. We have 1 year left for this term. The LOC, the Legislative Operating Committee, has adopted 20 laws and just a breakdown of those 20 laws, there has been 9 amendments. Of those 20, there's been 9 amendments to laws, one emergency amendment to a law, 5 statement of effects completed that are related to general tribal council petitions, 1 amendment to the bylaws of a board, committee, or commission, and then we certified 4 administrative rules that are associated to laws of the nation. There have also been 10 LOC community meetings and community work sessions where the LOC discussed various laws and gathered input and feedback from the community as one component of ensuring the LOC is creating and amending laws that are community driven. Our next community meeting is September 3rd, so keep an eye out for that one. Tentatively, it'll be at the Norbert Hill Center, and again, September 3rd. That'll be Wednesday, September 3rd, and that'll be at 5:30 p.m. on that day. We need the community's input to ensure we are developing the best laws for the nation and our people. And I've had a few people question whether their input is being implemented or used while developing these laws, and I can assure you that it is. One instance is that we had a community meeting earlier last summer where we discussed the hunting, fishing, and trapping law, and some of the recommended changes to the law that came from that discussion and came from community members were added into the proposed amendments. So we do incorporate feedback we get from the community into the proposed amendments to the nation's law. So just wanted to reassure that these community meetings that we're hosting and these different avenues for gathering data, information, feedback, and expectations from Oneida Nation citizens and community members we're certainly using that information that we're gathering from all these different communication outlets and these pathways to gather information. We're certainly using that information. And so wanted to talk about the LOC's strategic direction. So earlier on in the term, the Legislative Operating Committee went through a strategy session. And so that was about 3 to 4 days spread out through a couple months. And the strategic directions that we came up with were improving relationships through communication, improving internal processes and strategy, educating and engaging stakeholders, which includes youth or young people, and implementing efficient use of technology. So those are our 4 strategic directions. And some of the tasks that the LOC is working on right now that will play a pivotal role in accomplishing our strategies are that we've created a communication plan to ensure we are sharing information about the work that the LOC is doing and to inform the community about upcoming events that pertain to the laws of the nation. We're trying to create resources to educate the community about the Legislative Operating Committee, the legislative process in hopes of enhancing understanding of the laws, codes, and ordinances of the nation. The LOC has been presenting to the Oneida Nation High School, the high school civics class, sharing information about the Legislative Operating Committee and the laws that we work on and how they impact the community. We also share a description of the legislative process in this presentation, which serves as the pathway for adopting and amending laws of the nation. The LOC will be setting up at the farmers market starting on Thursday, July 24th, and we'll be out at the market 2 times in August and twice in September. So that's one of our tasks for engaging stakeholders and gathering that information and that feedback and data that I talked about earlier. And so you can catch the LOC out at the farmers market in the months of late July, August, and September. Nation building is another topic that I wanted to share some details about. Nation building is the process by which a Native nation strengthens its own capacity for effective and culturally relevant self-government and for self-determined and sustainable community development. So the 5 core principles of nation building are transformational leadership, strong governing institutions, cultural relevancy, strategic outlook or 7th generation thinking philosophy, and sovereignty. The nation building team is comprised of the Oneida Business Committee members, their political appointees, and direct reports of the Oneida Business Committee, which consists of about 38 to 40 individuals. Through the bi-monthly nation building meetings in 2024, the team formed what is known as the foundational principles and are represented by the nation's vision and mission statement, the Good Mind principles, and the 5 nation building core principles. So that represents the foundational principles. As we had all these, when we're going through that process, we had all these different components, and we wanted to bring them together, and so that's how we formed the foundational principles. The Business Committee also created 11 nation building initiatives and adjoining SMART goals during strategy sessions and nation building meetings throughout 2024. And those initiatives are as follows. We have 11 of them, so as you have been, sit tight. Initiative 1, initiate next round of constitutional amendments. Initiative 2, integrate our ways and foundational principles into our governing systems. Initiative 3, invest in energy infrastructure. Initiative 4, feasibility assessment. Initiative 5, carry out the I Am Oneida project, or the Oneida project plan. Initiative 6, research center. Initiative 7, fostering innovative solutions to community challenges. Initiative 8, enhance mental health and well-being. Initiative 9, create continuous improvement plan for governance systems. Initiative 10, create a system of commerce. And then Initiative 11, strengthen capacity for technology. So members of the core nation building team were either assigned or selected to serve on one or multiple smaller teams that represent each of the 11 nation building initiatives. Each of these nation building initiative teams meet aside from the bi-monthly nation building meetings to develop objectives to fulfill their team's SMART goals. These objectives set by the initiative teams are brought back to the nation building core team for validation and approval. There are active drivers and team members for each initiative team. So that breaks down as follows. Active drivers, which are primarily OBC members or business committee members, and they provide strategic oversight, ensuring that each initiative aligns with long-term goals. They facilitate communication, track progress, and promote accountability, supporting each team in achieving its objectives. And then there are team members, and they are expected to lead the implementation efforts for each initiative. This includes either directly executing tasks or identifying individuals within their areas who are best suited for that work. Their role is essential in bringing each initiative's vision to life and ensuring consistent progress. And so that wraps up the nation building update. And then lastly, just wanted to provide some comments regarding the political climate and what's going on at the federal government level and how that impacts the nation. So we do continue to monitor the activities of the federal government and those happenings, and understand that attempt to understand how that will impact the nation. Medicaid and Medicare, there will be Medicaid. There very likely will be Medicaid and Medicare effects on our community. What does the reconciliation bill, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, mean for the Oneida Nation and its citizens? That's something that we're always keeping an eye on, and we're trying to gain a better understanding on. Is the reconciliation bill is like 1,000 pages long, so we're working on gaining a better understanding of the impacts of the reconciliation bill. We're working with tribal organizations regionally and nationally, such as the National Congress of American Indians, also known as NCAI, Midwest Alliance of Sovereign Tribes, MAST, National Indian Child Welfare Association, NICWA, National American Rights Fund, NARF, to ensure that tribal programs are not significantly impacted. And if they are, try to find a workaround to ensure that we have pathways and routes to find ways to fund these programs that are impacted. So furthermore, it will be critical for the Oneida Nation to engage with our Wisconsin congressional delegation to ensure that our funding is protected. However, the instability of the government is concerning, no doubt. The potential impacts of the loss of federal funding influences our ability to make future decisions. We have to ensure that our payroll programs and services, GTC mandates, et cetera, are paid first. Those bigger projects like the capital improvement projects are still being worked on and are still moving forward. We have responsive mechanisms in place, which, such as the Government Contingency Fund, which saved us during COVID. So we have the ability to maintain our status quo if something significant were to happen. The potential impacts of the loss of federal funding influences our ability to make future decisions. But I do want to just go back to the executive contingency fund. So when COVID happened, that fund was depleted, and it was depleted quickly, and so we have to restock that fund, and we're not there yet. So we're implementing measures to ensure that we're setting aside funds both on the grant side and to replenish the executive contingency fund, so that in the event that something significant happens, hopefully we never have to deal with the events of COVID again or anything to that extent or to that level or to that seriousness or that level of seriousness ever again. But we always want to make sure that we're planning for the future and planning for those types of impacts if they are or if they were to happen. So we have to ensure that our payroll programs and services, GTC mandates, are paid for first. And like I mentioned, the capital improvement projects are still in motion, are still being worked on. How long we'll be able to maintain status quo if we were to experience another COVID pandemic level issue, as I mentioned, not sure, as the nation is still attempting to restock the contingency fund that we expended and spent down during the pandemic. So congratulations, everyone here and everybody joining us. You made it through the gauntlet of an update from Councilman Wilson's office, but I'll give it back. I'll pass it back to, well, before I do that, wanted to share my contact information. As always, if anyone has any questions or concerns or has any expectations of me or my office and would like to reach out, please give me a call, email, or text. My office number is 920-869-4385. My email is jwilson@oneidanation.org, and my work cell is 920-764-2651. Again, y'all go for all of you tuning in and taking in all that information. I know there's a lot, but now I'll pass it back to Riley.
Thank you. So going back to the GTC meeting, the setup of the meeting was a lot different from normal.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that setup, and do you think you'll have future meetings like that?
I do hope so. I hope that we have more meetings that have the seating arrangements that reflect the seating layout at our Oneida Longhouse. I think that it's more conducive for having those types of conversations where we're able to have a dialogue that is where people don't feel intimidated to speak, and it's reflects how we used to and how we continue to this day gather in our place of our place to put through ceremonies and things like that. So I think just having a layout at General Tribal Council that reflects how we used to and still gather, I think is important for people to see what it's like if they don't participate in the Oneida Longhouse and the ceremonies and things like that. That's totally fine, but to change things up to reflect those how we see it and the seating arrangements at the Longhouse, I think is more conducive for having a good dialogue and good conversation.
Do you think that allowed for others to feel more comfortable speaking? Like, would you say there were more people speaking than normal?
Yes and no. I think that there was outside of the seating arrangements, I think the other part that played a pivotal role in encouraging people and giving them confidence to get to the mic and share their thoughts and feelings is that, one, we had the seating arrangements, which really made it inviting, I think, and encouraged people to feel, well, first it made them feel comfortable, I think, and it was inviting. Two, I think that the facilitated conversation really opened things up, and why I mention that is we haven't had a facilitated conversation before that I can remember that I've been a part of at General Tribal Council, but we have suspended the Robert's Rules of Order before at a meeting actually earlier last year, at the end of last year, at a petition meeting, and it was a meeting regarding the recreational center, I think, and we might have done that for the meeting we had at our capital improvement projects meeting. So when we suspended the Roberts Rules of Order and we had this discussion on these very polarizing topics, there were lines halfway up, and I'm referencing the usual typical seating arrangements at a General Tribal Council meeting. You have mic A and mic B. The line, there's a pathway through these mics all the way to the back of the room, and the lines were like halfway through the room, which is, there's a lot of people at the mics is what I'm getting at. And so here at this meeting, we had suspended Robert's Rules of Order. We had a facilitated conversation. There was somebody facilitating the meeting outside of the chairman that usually does facilitate the meetings. And then we had the seating arrangement. So I think a blend and mixture of all those three scenarios or those three instances is what really encouraged people to get up and speak. And then the fourth one would be obviously the topic. But the topic is, I mean, it's the most polarizing topic in Indian country, where you're talking about trying to identify citizenship for your nation. That's, I mean, it doesn't get any more chippy or dicier than that. And so I know that alone will, I won't say it's discouraging, but it will intimidate people to get up there. So I was actually inspired to see the young people that got up there, all variety of different ages of people that got up there and had different stories and different experiences and different perspectives about our current enrollment criteria.
Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Just that I'm excited. Well, one, just to stay on the topic, I'm excited that General Tribal Council supported the Business Committee's recommendation to host and hold another special General Tribal Council meeting that will carry on this conversation about our enrollment criteria and will be non-stipended. There won't be a stipend payment for it. And that, I don't know what the layout's going to look like. I think that those logistics will be played out, but I think the team and the standing committee and the business committee will review the feedback and I guess everybody's how they viewed how the meeting went with everything, the layout, the seating layout, the facilitated conversation. What would you, I don't want to say removing Robert's Rules of Order, suspending Robert's Rules of Order, all of those things we're going to take a look at and see how well it played out. And from just like those early reactions from people that I've spoken with, they really enjoyed the atmosphere of the meeting. It was very positive. There were a lot of good remarks. There was respective discourse. Yes, there were some things said, but it was shared in a respectful manner, and that's how we should be. That's how we should be working together to try to find a way forward. And so the other thing is that I'm glad that we have an internship program that provides these opportunities to interns such as yourself and others, as I participated in the internship program in 2018, and it is a very successful program. And so it provides these opportunities for our not only young people. I was an older intern. I was like 30 years old or something like that. 32 when I interned. And so we got a variety of different ages that are going through this internship program, but obviously it's geared to provide these opportunities for experience for college students, so that we know that there's an issue where college students are coming out of college, they have a BA or they have their associates or they have their masters, and they spend so much time in college, and yes, maybe they're probably getting some work experience, but not work experience related necessarily to or specifically to their area of focus that they worked on when they're in acquiring their higher education. And so this internship program for the nation really provides that experience that they need, because there's so many different areas within the organization. I mean, we have over 200 different departments. So in most cases, there's a relation from whatever college degree that a student's trying to acquire or is working on at the time. there's the related experience that within the nation, that in the organization, that'll be provided, and that'll be a match made in heaven. So it just provides that experience that students need, and that college students need to progress them into a career potentially.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for this internship. Bobby, anything else that you have?
I'm just curious about the attendance at the meeting. This was a non-stipend paid meeting, so were the numbers significantly the same or different?
Oh yeah, they're a little different. I think so. Bobby, you know the history of General Tribal Council meetings as far, like, we'll stick on the attendance. So from attendance standpoint, before we had the stipend payment, I think it started out with $50 in 2008 or something like that. Prior to 2008, it was hard to get a General Tribal Council meeting. I mean, I was rolling up in there. My mom was dragging me here at 4, 5, 6 years old, and I was praying that there would not be a quorum because I did not want to go to the meeting, obviously at that age, you know. And a lot of the times, it was hard to get quorum before 2008. Then once the stipend payment was instituted and implemented, we didn't see attendance lower than like 1,000, I think, or maybe 1,500, probably 1,000. And then there was amendment to the stipend payment policy, and it jumped from 50 to 100, and then recently in 23 it jumped from 100 to 200. And so that like exponentially increased attendance, especially from the $100 to the $200 payment. I think for the most part, between the 100 and 200, it was like about 1,500, maybe, depending on what the topics were for the agenda. At a GTC meeting, it might trickle up to closer around 2,000. Once we started having that $2,000 stipend payment since 2023, attendance has averaged around 2,000. And there's been, I'd say, at least 2 to 3 meetings where we've reached capacity, and we were still asking people to register so we could track how many people we had that were over capacity, but we were unable to pay them because due to the fire safety hazard, we have to stick to the capacity limit. So to answer your question in a long-winded way, there was significant drop-off because there wasn't a stipend payment. I think Chairman Hill mentioned there was 403 attendees, but then there were, I would say, at least 25 people that came in after the official count came in shortly after 6 p.m. So there might have been a total of 430.
About
roughly.
a fourth of what we normally
Yep.
have or less.
Yeah.
And our requirement according to the Constitution is to have 75 people to hold a meeting. So it is making a big difference, and appreciate the update on that.
Yeah.
And just remind people to vote this weekend. We do have a special election.
I didn't forget about that. Yes, special election this weekend, Saturday, July 12th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I think the voting location will be here at the Norbert Hill Center.
No,
And
I
then-
believe it's at the health center.
At the Health Center.
It's at the, oh, here you go, sir.
Thank you. Sorry I didn't have this ready to go. Thank you, Bobby. Bobby's always ready. So it's going to be at the Oneida Community Health Center, which is located at 525 Airport Drive, Oneida, Wisconsin 54155, and then also the Southeastern Oneida Tribal Services Office, COTS, at 5233 West Morgan Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53220. Just a note, must be 18 years or older to vote. Picture identification required for voting. No children allowed in the voting area. And then again, the special election is scheduled for the Saturday, July 12th, 2025, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at those two locations, the Oneida Community Health Center out here in Oneida, Wisconsin, and then at the other voting poll location is at the COTS, Southeastern Oneida Tribal Services, out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So encourage you all to get out there and exercise your civil right, your Oneida civil right to vote.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Just a reminder, we have the farmers market, which start at noon and it will end at 6 p.m. See you next week.
Yawanko, nukiwa.
Look at what.